ready to do something, to take action, to make a change. It's not a feeling. Stop waiting to feel like you're ready. Ready is a choice and it's an action. You're never going to feel ready to do the hard thing. So make the choice to be ready and move forward.
It's behavior, bitches.
Hey guys, it's Liat. Welcome to today's episode of Behavior Bitches podcast. Wow, it has been a minute. I am still flying on an airplane in my head right now. I just got back from 5 weeks in Israel for the Jewish holidays. I went with Kobe, forced him back to school today. He somehow thinks he doesn't need to go to school. And I don't know, like the nanny was somehow telling him like, okay, I'll take you to Legoland, all this stuff. So then he's like crying this morning that he doesn't want to go to this city of Legoland or something. And I was like, bro, what are you even crying about? You're not going to any city of Legoland. You're going to school. And I like slammed him in her car door and off he went. So we are coming back to try settle in here. Our guest today has been so sweet because we have been literally tossing all this technology around, trying to get it in place for today's episode. Half the mics were located at my house. We noticed that 10 minutes before the show. You know, in true Study Notes ABA Behavior Bitches fashion, we've done this. I was in the ER less than 12 hours ago on Dilaudid, having a great time, or not realizing that I was having any time because I was so knocked out. But I'm here. So let's see where we are now. We always keep things entertaining. Our guest today, let me tell you about her. You ready? Okay. Katie O'Malley is an executive coach and leadership educator with 20 years of professional experience serving nonprofits, education, and corporate sectors. She's worked alongside hundreds of individuals, teams, and organizational clients as the founder and principal coach of Encourage Coaching. Prior to opening the doors of Encourage Coaching, Katie served as a coach and course instructor to MBA and graduate students, and she is currently a member of the Harvard Business Review Advisory Council. In June 2025, Katie took the TEDx stage in Boston, which, by the way, that's amazing. I feel like everyone, ever since like TED came around, it's like that's a bucket list item for so many. Like I'm like, I would love to do that one day. I have to figure out what I talk about, but I mean, I have a few ideas. She took the stage with her highly anticipated talk of the attention we give, lessons from listening for a living. And I have a lot of questions about that. But Katie, let me formally welcome you to the show.
What a great introduction, Liat. Thank you so much. Welcome back to the States, and thanks for keeping our recording session, even with the, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine
I
the,
thrive in chaos. I thrive in chaos.
yes. Okay. And I'm glad you're here and feeling better.
I mean, it's crazy what fluids can do, I'll tell you. IV fluids are like, and I mean, it just worked out perfectly. I happen to be like, I have 3 days left of my deductible cycle. By the way, I'm like insurance's nightmare. Like I meet it in January. Like I'm paying $0 for the fluid. So I went in twice in the past couple of days, do what you got to do. Hashtag autoimmune issues. All right. So, but before we get into anything very serious talk, I'd like to like have a little bit of fun and like get to know you a little bit. And we have a question. What we've started something new. Someone on our show came on and was like, they ask a question, like whoever the previous guest is, asked a question, not knowing at all who's going to be our next guest. And so you will ask this, and then you're going to ask a question for our next guest. Okay. So start thinking what you want to ask. But the question I have for you is, first of all, are you married?
No, recently divorced.
Congrats. Me too.
I know. It's awesome.
Literally, that was not the question that they asked, though. I wanted to know because I was like, that was one. That was so funny. Recently divorced. First of all, let me just pause this entire podcast and tell you congrats.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Like I really don't love the pity answers I get. I feel like I'm so sorry to hear. I'm like, if you knew how fucking happy I am on the other side, you would not be apologizing to me.
Yes. And I would say 0 out of 10, do not recommend the process of divorce. 100 out of 10, getting to the other side is worth that process.
And let me tell you, I'm like at 3 years past now, and like the time just flew. I can't believe it's been 3 years since. And I have never been happier. I just want you to know that. I don't know how soon after you are after your divorce?
I'm 6 months, and I have been elated since April 17th, 2025.
But who's counting?
No, no one, not me.
No, I just want you to know if you think you're flying now, like, give yourself, like, another 6 months, like, what life just gets better.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's,
Like, if you're somewhere you're
I
not supposed to be, and this is, like, life advice for anyone, like, you are not stuck ever.
Mhm, mhm,
Anything else
and it
you wanna offer the
was
audience? Tell them.
the first inkling you get, whether or not you need to be staying in the position that you're in, that is the ultimate sign that it is time to make a change. I knew this marriage wasn't working in 2019 and was getting ready to file, and then the pandemic happened and another 4 years of marriage as a result. And so trust yourself. It's one of the things I've been working on in therapy all year is this idea of self-trust and rebuilding that.
It's can I tell you, like, I just have to tell you, like, life is weird. I don't know why I asked that question. The question I have here says, "What did you eat for breakfast?"
I
And
can
I've
tell you
never
that
asked
too.
someone if they're married. I literally I was like, someone else asked this question, but I wanted to ask my own question of, like, "How did you meet whoever it is?" And, like, I literally come in with, "Are you married?" Like, I've never asked that, and I just feel like maybe we were meant to connect on that.
I think so. I think so.
Okay,
Mhm.
then you know what? I'm changing the question. You could also tell me what you ate for breakfast, but what advice would you give someone who is currently in the situation? This is just like girl to girl chat right now. That it was
For
like,
sure.
I'm just so unhappy where I am. I'm scared. Should I stay or should I go? What advice would you give that person?
The advice that I would give is listen to what your body and heart are telling you right now. If you're feeling fear, if you're feeling a sense of resistance for taking the action to move forward and potentially leave your marriage, to me, that is signal enough. It's time to call 3 to 5 attorneys and figure out who you want to be working with. Trust yourself and know it's going to be hard, but the way I like to describe it, Liat, to folks who ask me about it is a temporary acute pain to go through the divorce instead of having chronic pain in the marriage for your entire life. That is likely going to hold you back.
You have one fucking life, everyone. For anyone
Mhm.
listening, you have one life. And I have to give a shout out to Untamed. Did you ever read Untamed?
I didn't, but I'm very familiar with Glennon Doyle.
Okay. So although I don't agree with some of the stuff she posts lately, but her writing is brilliant. That book gave me the strength. It was like she there was some line that was along the lines of maybe like in my next life, as if I had more than one, you know? And I was like,
Mm.
whoa. As someone who like I almost feel like I have multiple like little bits of life just because of my health. And I'm like, whoa, like, yeah, no. So for anyone who is there and even scared to think the thought out loud, I think that's something that's also kind of a scary part of it. Just know there are plenty of people who have done this and are happier for it. So know that. And also just a life hack, something that I read on that came up. If you're trying to figure out, you said call 3 to 5 attorneys. Call all of them because you know as soon as they talk to you, they can't take on your ex.
Exactly.
Like then it's like they've engaged with you, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So like call the
Exactly.
best, most expensive, best bulldog lawyers in town, and then you don't even have to work with them. Just say hi, let them know your name.
And I would say too, ready to do something, to take action, to make a change. It's not a feeling. Stop waiting to feel like you're ready. Ready is a choice and it's an action. You're never going to feel ready to do the hard thing. So make the choice to be ready and move forward.
I love that. That needs to be a reel. Martha already got it. Okay, perfect. All right, but also just since that random question came in, what did you eat for breakfast?
I am trying to get more protein into my life because
Aren't we all?
perimenopause and
Yeah.
all of it. So it was a True Bar chocolate chip cookie dough, True Bar banana, and latte with real, actual cow milk.
I have cow milk also. It's like so funny how if you have milk, you have to say cow milk because it's like
Yeah.
so rare. Love it. Good for you. I love that. Okay,
Thank
what's your
you.
question for the next guest? It could be anything.
Question for the next guest: the best concert you have ever been to and why?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, great. Martha, noted? Got it. All right. So now that we've got to know you a little bit, and I'm still laughing that that question came out. It was so
I love that, but it made it so real, Yacht.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing here. I really don't know what comes out of my mouth sometimes, and that's what came out, and it needed to come out. I think we needed to have that connection. So
Agreed.
now we could get going. So tell me about who Katie is, how you got into what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try listen. See what I did there?
So what I would say is I up until I became a full-time small business owner, very much a career nomad. And what I did know, and the thread that has pulled through my entire professional journey, has really been driven by altruism and wanting to make a difference in the world. And so went to college at Miami of Ohio, studied political science, thought politics and political organizing and campaign work was going to be how I made a meaningful, positive impact in the world, and was lucky enough to graduate in an election year. So had the opportunity to work on John Kerry's campaign for president out in Minnesota. This was back in 2004. And I always tell folks, up until I became a full-time small business owner, that was the hardest I ever worked in my career, to at the end of that campaign cycle have no job, have no prospects, have no health insurance, because this was before the Affordable Care Act, and decided I needed to make a transition to something more secure and stable. And moved out to New York City, spent several years working for the Innocence Project, which, as an organization, their mission is to exonerate folks who have been wrongfully imprisoned using DNA evidence that wasn't available at the time of their
I've listened to
conviction.
some podcasts, I think that potentially work with that organization. Is that possible? Like they'll tell
Oh,
stories?
I'm sure.
Okay.
Yes, I'm sure. And so it's interesting. There are lots of different innocence projects attached to law schools, but the original is in New York City, and it's kind of the main hub. And that work was obviously very rewarding, very emotionally taxing, and hard to live in New York City on any salary, much less a nonprofit salary. So moved home to the Midwest, to Chicago, spent several years working for the AIDS Foundation of Chicago, and was still feeling this sense of misalignment that led to dissatisfaction, disengagement, almost bordering on resentment for the lack of financial compensation and upward mobility that nonprofits and that field tend to offer.
Mhm.
And yeah, I saw a lot of my friends having a lot of success in commercial real estate and thought, man, if they can do this and be so, I'm using air quotes, successful, at the time, just connecting money and success, I should be able to do this too. And on my very first day, walked into the office and I knew I had made a huge career misstep. I'm like, I do not belong here. I'm not sure what to do. And that day, the AIDS Foundation of Chicago was actually on the same street as my new employer. I went back and had lunch with my old colleagues because I felt so disoriented and out of place in that field, and spent the next 3.5, 4 years really trying to make it work. As you can imagine, it took an incredible toll on my mental health and well-being, because when we show up to a place for 8, 10, 12 hours out of the day, we can't use our strengths or our immense set of skills. There's a values misalignment, and at best we don't get rewarded, but at worst we get punished. It takes just this huge toll. And so in 2012, I took a medical leave of absence from work for mental health, which at the time was pretty new in the HR policy realm. That leave, I did inpatient treatment, outpatient treatment, a lot of therapeutic work. And what I realized was I wasn't the only person having this crisis of, how I see myself personally is very different
Did you do
than
like an IOP, like an intensive outpatient?
I did intensive
I
outpatient
did that too.
after
I
I
went
did
home
2
for a
weeks of
semester and did it.
inpatient. Yeah, and it was so transformative because it allowed me to see, gosh, there's not something wrong with me. This is more of a pervasive and systemic issue. And that's when I decided to go back to school at 30 and get my master's degree in counseling so I could help people at the intersection of mental health and work. Pretty early on in my graduate program, realized, insurance companies are not super keen to cover conversations and therapy sessions about work because work is not a mental health diagnosis, even though it leads to burnout, which the symptoms mirror anxiety, depression, post traumatic stress. And so I finished the degree, but instead of getting licensed as a counselor, got credentialed as a coach and spent the next 10 years in higher education supporting students in their career and leadership development at the University of Texas at Austin and the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. And while it was very much aligned with that driver of altruism, Liat, there was an issue of justice for me in that it is a very small segment of the population that gets to access these types of educational institutions, much less all the bells and whistles that come along with that degree. And so
Especially
that's
at
when I
UT
started.
Austin. Geez, you could only get in if you're top 10%.
Yeah,
I couldn't even look at it.
yeah, yeah. Even though the student population is massive, right? There's still this
Yeah.
barrier to entry. And so that's why I started Encourage Coaching. I had no business plan, no marketing strategy, no ideal client, just if I build this with a basic static website on Wix, get an LLC, put up a Facebook page, will people be interested? Will they come? And it turns out there was an interest in a market for this. And we had I had some nice steady growth from 2018 up until the start of the pandemic. And then we had the great resignation. Business took off. And I was sitting there preaching work life harmony, balance, integration, whatever you'd like to call it, to clients. Meanwhile, working 8:30 to 5 at the university, seeing private clients 5 to 9 and on the weekends. And when 2022 rolled around, the year that I turned 40, I said, I can either bet on myself now or not. But if I don't do it now, I can't imagine myself doing it in the future. Worst case scenario, go back to working for someone else in 2023. And wouldn't you know what you can do for a small business when you can dedicate 40 to 50 hours a week to it? And
I had the
so,
exact same mirrored thing. It's like that risk.
yeah,
Mine was always like, do I leave? I'm going to lose health insurance. That was always mine.
yep, same. And talking to my business coach, he's like, that's going to be a drop in the bucket paying for health insurance. Now, I don't know what's going to happen come November 1st for those of us who are self-employed and on the marketplace, but it was the most exhilarating and scary choice I ever made. And I have to say it's paid off over these last 4 years. I'm the most professionally satisfied I've ever been in my career.
It's behavior, bitches.
Are you a BCBA now and you are sad because you hate your job? Are you thinking, I worked so effing hard and here I am, dreading Monday? Well, you're not the only one. We get that message all the time and we decided to do something about it. Welcome our newest baby, Pair ABA by Study Notes ABA. What is this? Well, we pair you with jobs that you actually don't hate. Imagine that. Imagine going to work on Monday and being excited about it. Imagine working somewhere where you're appreciated, you're paid well, they're doing ethical practice, and you love what you do. Well, that's not impossible because we have formed Pair ABA, where we talk to clinics that we would actually want to work at. We're not going to send you anywhere. We are assessing these clinics to see, are they doing the good work? Are they not telling you one thing and then having you do another thing once you sign on? If you're concerned that you're not happy or you're feeling unsettled where you are, don't settle. Don't settle in relationships. Don't settle in work. Realize your value. Let us help you find a job where you are happy. All you need to do is head on over to pairaba.com. The response effort is low. Fill out the form so we can help you find job options near you. If you're a clinic and you think you're good enough for us to place at, also head over to pairaba.com. And we will see, are you good enough for our badass BCBAs who we protect? Go check it out, pairaba.com. Love you, mean it. what you just said is so I had the exact same thing. I remember being like, I'm like working as a clinician in a clinic. Like I have like a stable salary. I have
Yeah.
health insurance. As someone with like a chronic illness, like what am I doing? Like, you know, I'll tell you that I just working for myself and doing what I love to do was way better for my health.
Yes.
I need the health insurance
Yes.
less just by working for myself and not that and I'm working, like, way more hours, but I'm like, I love what I do. So,
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
amazing, and also the fact that you mentioned that you did an intensive outpatient program. I came home from college one semester and, like, I just, like, couldn't stay anymore, and what I
Yeah.
learned in that semester, I feel like it was a very, like, CBT, for anyone who doesn't know, a cognitive behavioral therapy program. I, like, utilized those skills all the time, and that was in 2010, maybe?
Yeah.
Crazy. Like,
Yeah. Those immersive healing experiences are transformative and they stick with the patient and client their whole lives.
yeah, it's, like, really like a what a gift to be able to,
Mhm.
you know I mean, when else in life do you I mean, when life doesn't give you a choice, that's when you have to do things like that, right? It's like
Right.
you schedule time for things like that or life will schedule it for you, and that I did not plan on doing that my, like, sophomore year of college. I was definitely not feeling cool going home, but it really changed my life. So, we have that in common as well. Wow, we have all the things that build character.
Yes, yes, and you hit on an important point there. I remember the initial pangs of shame hitting when I'm like, I am stepping out of the workforce to do this. And now it's something I talk about very freely with clients on podcasts, with friends, because the workplace as a whole isn't giving us the resources that we need to stay well. And I shouldn't say I can't wait, but I imagine this kind of fourth industrial ish revolution advocacy coming forth from employees saying it's not that our physical lives are being put in danger, it's our cognitive and emotional lives that are going to be impacting how we're able to move through the world physically if there isn't workplace reform soon. Just really excited to see how we start making those moves. And I think Gen Z is on the front end of that.
When you talk about this workplace reform, can you tell me what you're talking about?
Absolutely. So I don't know if you've been starting to see some of this. There are employers that are starting to say, if you want to work with us, you will be working 60 to 72-hour weeks, and it is back to grind culture. There are no boundaries in between personal life and professional life.
Like, they're openly
You
saying that or they're just, like, adding those hours in?
No, they're openly saying it in their recruitment.
Hmm,
Yep,
and people are like,
yep.
"Cool?"
It some of them, right? Because what they're s the work workplace grind culture influencers make it look so cool that it's like, "Oh, I can be there one day too." But I think at the same time, what we're also seeing, is a lot of resistance from Gen Z to engage in that type of work. Work is something that should be, at minimum, having a net neutral impact on our life, and at best, elevating our life outside of work. But I can tell you from the clients that come to me and the conversations that I have at conferences, that is not what is happening for most folks. And what we really need from work, I think, is two things. One, a sense of belonging, which is not beer taps and ping pong tables, right? Or forced 5 day a week return to office. Belonging is, are my strengths and skills being rewarded and recognized, and do my values align with the mission of the company, and is that mission also turned internally and not just broadcasted externally to potential clients, buyers, whomever it might be. So there's belonging, and then the second piece of it is people want to feel a sense of competence and agency over their day. Am I getting to use the brilliance that got me hired on a daily basis? is that being developed? And do I have some decision making authority and autonomy in terms of how I spend my time? And let me pause there. What are you hearing, and what is helpful?
So no, what I'm hearing from you is, I'm just hearing it behaviorally. Well, first of all, I just want to like, as a behavior analyst, a lot of people listening to this are in the field of being board certified behavior analyst, working with clients, majority of individuals, because where the funding is with individuals with autism. It's
Mhm.
tireless. You're working with a lot of behaviors. A lot of these clinics are owned by private equity. These people who need you to meet their goals, these different things. People are burnt out. Like, this is the message I
Mhm.
get all the time. My specific role, like where I like make my livelihood, is helping people pass the exam to become behavior analysts. And so they work their asses off. This exam has like a 52% pass rate. They go past it. They're excited to now be practitioners, and they hate every second of it. They're like, I I'm so burnt out. I hate it. What did I like? I don't think I like went to school for the right thing. Some people are like, I'm literally thinking of like going back and like not going back. Like, I'm like literally thinking of like just like being like a cashier at Target or a barista at Starbucks. Like, I'm just
Yep.
so burnt out from this like day in, day out. And so what you're telling me, obviously we have this industry problem within our own field, but it's not just within behavior analysis or ABA. This is happening everywhere, as to what
Mhm.
you're saying. And I mean, we see these articles and, these different, like, the Harvard Business Review or these, wherever you're getting your, on LinkedIn, everywhere. It's like every other article. And what you're telling me is it's just a little ironic because I and anyone in my field is working in the space of human behavior, meaning like we're looking to reinforce behaviors we want to see more of, right? Like,
Yep.
and yet we're doing this with our clients. We're doing this with our kids with autism we work with. However, it always blows my mind when I look at these clinics that I'm like talking to regularly. I'm like, you understand how to do this with like the clients you're working with. Okay. You want them to like what we use the word man, like request, a break or food more often, and then you're going to reinforce it or whatever it is. Why aren't you doing this with your employees? Like, why
Mhm.
aren't you reinforcing your employees for behaviors that you want to see? Like, how are we not understanding to generalize this? And one of the areas you were saying, you said that people want to be, you'll have to give me the word because I translated it immediately into behavior.
Yeah, they wanna have a sense of belonging and community and also competence
And you said the one thing you had said, like, are for their skills that they have.
for the skills that they have, and then to have some agency and autonomy over how they're spending their time, how they're spending their day, what they're working toward makes all the difference, and
So,
go ahead.
so that to me, like, just for anyone listening, if like you're trying to like tie this into what you're studying, this is first of all, are we reinforcing the correct behaviors? Not just like, oh, they showed up, right? Like, are we reinforcing behavior? Like, are we targeting the correct behaviors? That's number one. Are we looking at behaviors that actually we could look at things like, okay, attendance, sure, they're doing that. But what target behaviors do we want to increase? Do we want to increase that we're seeing greater progress within our clients? Then we need to make sure that our employees are happy in other areas, like, right, what is their satisfaction in the day? Are they doing what they're interested in? Are we, acknowledging them for like the time they're putting into programming or whatever it is? And thinking of this, what are we using to reinforce employees? It may not always be money, right? For someone else, they may find value in being like, you know what, you could leave today at noon, you could have the best parking spot for the week. Like, whatever it is, speak to the individual and to what is reinforcing. It's like these little things that we could do to look at the individual.
Absolutely, and whenever I'm working with a team, an organization, an executive, I always say we're building culture one employee at a time, because recognition and reward varies from person to person. It's very individualized. And so one of the questions that I'll often ask clients is, what is the best way for your employer to reward you that's not a promotion and not about a pay raise or a bonus? And Liat, I am shocked at the percentage of clients who don't know what another kind of form of recognition or reward would be until I start throwing things out, which is, like you said, you can leave at noon today. We can give you an extra week of PTO if you deliver on this project. For me, when I was working for an employer, it was, I will say this unabashedly, nominate me for awards, put me in front of important people. If you're sending out an email about a program I was a part of, please include my name and copy everyone up to the VPSA. That is the best way to reward and recognize me. But do not come into my office, close the door, and tell me I did a good job. That's not going to do it for me, even though it might do it for a lot of people. And so I ask them and then turn it around almost like you did when we started to say, now, after this session this week, when you're having your one on ones, I want you to ask every member of your team the best way that you can reward and recognize them. And if they're stuck, give them the same prompts and ideas that I gave you, because chances are they will be.
Right. And something I just want to add in there for anyone studying, this is a basic preference assessment that we do, like whether you're like in a one-on-one client with a kid, right? And remember these preferences change. So like if I'm going to work with a kid in a 1 hour session today and I'm like, "Hey bud, what do you want to work for today?" "Oh, you want to work to play with Ninjago on the iPad? Cool, amazing." If I ask you tomorrow, you may not be into Ninjago, right? You might be really, in fact, you want to work for cookies. Great, right? So remember to check in regularly, which
Yeah.
actually, Martha, my assistant who helped me with everything here, I am going to ask everyone on the team what is the most motivating to them after this to make sure that I'm also practicing this because I sometimes, and I could be guilty of it too. Like I love massages. So like I like to throw out massages to employees. Not that I'm giving it, don't worry. Uh, I like to lock them in a room and give them massages, and I don't know why they're all weird about it. I don't know why they all quit. Um, no, so, like, it's like, I like massages, so I get them, but, like, maybe that's not it for other people, you know? I'm going to actively do this with the team after I'm gonna ask everyone, but
And I also think it's not all on you and it's not all on that direct people leader. Share with each other what's most rewarding and motivating. Not that we're expecting colleagues to buy each other massages or spend money on each other, but being able to say, this is how Katie, this is how Liat likes to be recognized and rewarded. At minimum, what can I do to make sure that this work that should be rewarded is getting seen so that she can receive that recognition or reward? So it's very much community based. And I think organizations like and companies like Work Human, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but get to what you were talking about. They've created this recognition software
what are they
that is
called?
to Work Human, recognition software that actually looks at what are the values of the culture, what are the behaviors that demonstrate that this is our culture, and how can individual employees reward each other for demonstrating those behaviors day to day at work. And then they get to, like you were talking about, this idea of preference, they get, once they hit a certain number of points or badges, they get to pick their form of recognition and reward. Sometimes it's a trip, sometimes it's a bag, like whatever it might be. But this is how we build new cultures, reinforcing not just from the top, but from all around these behaviors that we want to see in terms of a workplace culture.
So one of the most common questions I get people, like, sending me is, "What can I do with my master's in behavior analysis that's not working in a clinic with kids with autism?" And I would say, go look for a company like Work Human. Like, that
Yeah.
is so behavioral. Like, go in as a behavior analyst, be like, "Okay, on what schedule of reinforcement are you providing reinforcement?" "Oh, you know what? It's too thin a schedule." Maybe it's like, meaning you're not giving it out enough. Like, if you wanna, increase certain behaviors. This is a great actually, I wanna go look at it. This is like I love this
Amazing.
stuff.
And the conference every year, I've been going
Oh, they have a
since
conference
20,
every year?
they have a conference every year.
Let's go together.
It I think it's in Orlando. The Americas one is in Orlando, but they're also doing UK and Paris.
Divorced girls do UK or Paris. Work Human, come
I
on.
think we need to make this happen. Yep. You can even bring Kobe if you want to. There's Legolands there.
You know what? Me and him have spent so much time together the past whatever. Like, I think it's time. I actually think he needs some time without me here. I think he's too attached.
Okay.
Wait,
Then you
I
and me,
wanna
we'll
look
do
up
it.
when these are. Martha, let's look up when they are, and Martha, can you also send an email out to the team to ask how they receive recognition the most? What is their main thing? And then give them some ideas based off ChatGPT. Okay. We're good.
It's behavior bitches.
Hey guys, it's your favorite bitch, Liat here. Are you stressing about taking the BCBA or BCABA exam? Feeling like you don't know where to start? You got into this field, you're worried your program didn't prepare you so much, you're wondering how you're going to get through grad school, then let alone take this test? Well, let me take that stress on for you. Over here at Study Notes ABA, this is what we do. We eat, breathe, sleep, thinking about the BCBA exam. I've been carrying around my Cooper book for the last 8 years so that you can chill. If you're getting ready to study and wondering what you could be doing, sign up for our live collective. It's 12 weeks, which is done over 24 classes. We meet twice a week. It's taught from actual BCBAs who have been there in your shoes studying for the exam. We make everything relatable, funny. You are actually going to enjoy the study process. And hold me to that. If you're not enjoying it, let me know. I'll be shocked. You get a study group, people who are studying the exact same thing, shared adversity. We could ask all your questions and we take all the notes with you. You are going to have the most beautiful doodles by the end, and your Cooper book will seem way less scary. Are you worried about payment plans? We've got that too. We get what it's like being an RBT in the field. So stop stressing, start getting ready to pass the test, and go to studynotesaba.com/collectives, and we have it all there laid out beautifully for you. I want to talk about your TED Talk.
Yeah.
Which is like, did you do your TED Talk after you got divorced, it seems?
I did.
Like,
Yeah.
what
After the
I'm
divorce.
very into this divorce.
We will talk about it on this UK Paris work
Oh, 1,000.
human trip.
I'm stoked.
Yeah.
By the way, I am like, this is like the point of my life. I want to be doing these things. So I really do want to talk about this. This is not me just like saying like,
Oh no,
this
I'm
is not like
serious.
drunk
Let's
girls
go.
in a bathroom. Like, we should totally get together. This is like me, like for real. We'll talk about this out after the podcast. But I want to know what you talked about. And I know one of the, I want to hear it. And I know one of the main thing was listening.
Mhm. Mhm.
As behaviorists, we always talk about behaviors that you have to operationally define something. Like, what can
Yeah.
you operationally define? What is listening?
Yeah. So in the talk, it's called The Attention We Give: Lessons from Listening for a Living. And I define listening through the 3 different practices, essentially. So what I introduce is called the AIR formula for listening. A stands for attention, I for intention, and R for recognition. And it's both an interpersonal process where you're applying AIR, so between you and another person, but also an intra-personal process that you're applying simultaneously to ourselves, because we get in our own way of really
Yes.
being able to listen to others. And when I talk about listening, the main thing I encourage folks to do from the outset is to reframe listening from a behavior where you are socialized to respond, a behavior where you're socialized to offer your own perspective, where we're trying to gain agreement on a singular outcome, solution, perspective, and reframe listening as, this is a behavior I can engage in to build understanding, connection, and trust with another person. Those are my goals when I listen. And if we take the AIR formula, where I say listening is a function of attention. If we cannot attend to the other person and attend to ourselves, we are not going to be able to listen. We can't do it otherwise. And so I think what happens, Liat, and tell me your perspective on this. So often people say, "Oh, I'm a really great active listener." And what I will say is, "No, you're just performing listening," right? So someone looks at you and you're making eye contact, you're nodding your head, you're leaning in. That is, to me, what most people think about as active listening, because you are being active with your body. What I believe that it does is it brings our body to attention, so our mind can actually focus on the person that is communicating with us. And so when we talk about attention, it is both the performance and those practices, but also attending to yourself. What thoughts and feelings are bubbling up as I'm listening to this other person? Where in my lived experience did these barriers to understanding come about so that I can recognize this might get in the way of me listening to someone in the future? Let me pause. What do you think? Just on the attention piece.
I think everything you're saying is really interesting, and obviously, like, everything I see is through, like, behavioral glasses just because I, like, talk this for I mean, I, like, only first of all, when I asked you to operationally define listening, it's interesting to me because when we talk about behaviors in the space of behavior, we always talk about it is only a behavior if a dead man can do it, it's not behavior. So that's like the dead man test. So how can we show listening where it's not like sitting there still, someone is talking. A dead man can do it, so it's not a behavior. It's like so like how are we like putting it into like an actionable term showing that you're listening, right? So that's what I was thinking about there. And the attention, you're right. So sometimes I know that, especially let's say during podcasting, right? And by the way, I used to have a co-host. So like now and which would allow time for me to like think in between, like if someone else was going to ask a question, whatever it is. Now like I'm having to listen and thinking about my response at the same time. So sometimes I might miss things being said as well as I really struggle with ADHD. Like since the youngest age, like I have
Mhm,
struggled. Like someone could say something and I'd be like, I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that back?
mhm,
Which I don't have a problem asking now, like, I'd be like, "I'm so sorry what you just said, I wanna hear it again." Sometimes that, by the way, for me is showing that I am listening. I'm like, "Wait, what you were just saying,
exactly.
like, can you say that back?" Because I realized, like, I might have had an interrupting thought or something during it, but, like, I wanted to hear what was said. So, like, that attention part, you're so right, like, going in and being like, "How what is happening that I'm not gonna be able to pay full attention to this?" So, like, me, Liat, personally, I will often, like, be like let's say I'm in a work meeting and I'm like, "I'm so sorry. Would you mind if I wrote this one thought down on paper really quickly that I just need to call my son's doctor because I know that I'm going to be obsessing about this and I can't fully listen unless I write this down because I know how my brain works, you know?
Yeah.
So, like,
Well, and the
something like
the
that.
brain wants to be heard just as like our brains and bodies wanna be heard, right? So the moment we can also attend to their needs, the quicker we can get back to really trying to listen to understand. And I think, the intention piece and the recognition piece, I like to say the I is your constant in the air formula. So your intention will always be to understand, not respond, not ask questions, because more often than not, questions take us where we want to go and not where the listener is trying to take us, but also intend to understand yourself. What Again, it's that pattern of what was coming up for me, what was taking me out of the ability to listen to understand and instead want to offer a response, which typically is either something we agree with or disagree with. And suddenly we stop listening and start formulating our questions or responses. But I think one of the most practical replacements for questions, because
Oh,
I
this is
think,
great. In behavior, we're very into appropriate replacement behavior. So tell us what we
yeah,
do.
practical replacements for questions, because sometimes, even though questions tend to signal curiosity, sometimes it can start to feel like an interrogation or like, and put the person on the defensive, and then you're not going to get good information out of them,
Right.
right? So the recognition piece is a replacement for questioning others. And what I like to say is, and it's very basic micro counseling skills, Liat, you're going to paraphrase what you heard, state something you observed, and then offer a reflection of feelings. So in the TEDx, I offer the example of when someone tells you about your weekend, tells you about their weekend, instead of asking what was the best part or what are you going to do next weekend, which takes them out of what they were trying to communicate to you, you'll paraphrase what you heard them say, state something you observed, which is typically a physical manifestation of their behavior, and then offer a reflection of feelings. So something like, it's Liat, it sounds like you had an incredibly full 5 weeks of travel in Israel with your son Kobe.
The way you
I
remember the names, like,
notice,
done. And
right?
by the way, anyone trying to close a sales deal, just mention, like, their name and their kid's name. It's, like, done.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want from
Yeah,
me?
I observed things were a little chaotic this morning, given that you might be jet lagged, and that you're just coming back from this trip and trying to get Kobe back in school, this must have been somewhat stressful for you. Did I get that right? And that then invites the person to add more detail, add more color, clarify if you were right. And the goal isn't to be right. The goal is to do the best that you can to understand what they're trying to say. And responding in that way will generate so much more information than you ever could have got. Then, what was your favorite part of Tel Aviv? It's magical.
Wow. That do you know what? I just, like, got this weird flashback to, like, couples therapy. You know, like, you're, like, stating the statement, you're like, "Did I get that right?"
Mhm. Mhm. And not using these micro counseling skills to pathologize or diagnose people, just to communicate more effectively, because what we see happening we are so disconnected from each other, we're disconnected from ourselves, and I think really retaining the human quality of listening is going to be what reconnects us to each other, but also to ourselves.
Wow. I mean, listening is a real skill. I mean, I even think even with, like, everything going, to AI or going to technology, and even though I do feel like my chat GPT really does listen to me, it's like to have a human on the other side. And I want you to know, by the way, you talking to me today, I even noticed, like, how, like, often you say my name in between. It's like you do feel listened to, just like someone coming in between. Like, it's just these little things that are so powerful. And I
Yeah.
think that, you know, and in the workplace, especially, like, people, I think, don't feel heard. I actually, like, had something this morning. Someone was like, "I had an idea of something, and I felt like it was, like, shut down." And it's like, if we can, like, I feel like I'm gonna take this skill from this, like, micro lesson you've given me of how to make someone feel heard and make sure that, it's not coming back as, like, questions or, just, like,
Yeah.
"I hear you,
And here's what I heard,
and here's what I heard.
right?
Let me know if
Providing the
did I
evidence
get that
that you did.
right?"
Mhm.
Wow. I love this, and by the way, you should know, like, you have a very calming energy to you. Like, I came in, like, chaotic this morning on, like, so thank you. Your energy is really incredible.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. If we would have met 6 months ago pre-divorce, I might have just added to the chaos.
That's fine. I thrive on that too. But no, but it's like you're very calming. I came out in with chaos today, so and I'm glad that you're in such a good place. It's amazing. I think all these things are great takeaways, and there's so many other things I want to ask you, which I think we might have to do a part 2.
Would love that.
And but with that, I want to know, where can everyone find you, Katie? Let us know. We're gonna scream it to the masses.
Yep, yep. So, best place to find out more about me and Encourage Coaching is at our website, encouragecoaching.org. If you're looking for the latest and greatest in the labor market, give me a follow on LinkedIn. It's just /Kate O'Malley. And if you are ready to rage quit your job and need a good giggle before you do that, give me a follow on Instagram at Encourage Coach Chicago. It's also where I post cute photos of my chief cuteness officer, Foxy, who is my mini golden doodle.
Oh, amazing. 'Cause, well, look, and I have my Frenchie everywhere, who's really annoying, but, he's the mascot for us too, Pavlov, the white Frenchie you might see everywhere. He's annoying but cute. Mhm.
Pavlov.
Yeah. Oh, ironic, his name. But thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I had fun with you. I really we'll speak after this about
I would love
I
that.
think I think we could have fun.
Agreed. Agreed. And I want to do more digging into behavioral analysis.
Oh, well, I could anything you need, I'm your girl.
Yeah, it is send me just a place to get started. And then I'm very good at creating my own knowledge rabbit hole to go down.
Okay, love it. I could put you in one of our courses that are all on demand. You could learn it
Okay,
all.
perfect.
All right. Well, thank you. You guys, you know where you could find us. You could find us on behaviorbitches.com. There you could, if you have a topic you want us to cover, if there's a guest you want us to have on, if you are that guest, if you want to tell me how amazing the podcast is, I will take any reinforcement. If you're wondering what form of praise I like, I love reviews on the podcast. I love someone telling me I'm doing a great job. I live for that. So just go. And also that if you go to the Apple Podcast app, go leave us a 5-star review. Also, we really have been trying hard to grow our new YouTube channel. It's a lot more work than just doing an audio podcast. And so head on over to YouTube, subscribe to Behavior Bitches Podcast there, leave comments, likes, hearts, whatever it is. It will mean a lot to us as well. You can find us on Instagram at Behavior Bitches Podcast, Facebook at Behavior Bitches Podcast, TikTok at Behavior Bitches Podcast. You get the drill, okay? So that's all we have for you today. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, love ya. Mean it.
It's behavior bitches.
Hey, Behavior Bitches besties. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time and stopping and watching all of our content on YouTube. We put a lot of effort into putting these podcasts into YouTube. That means I have to get dressed for the day, do my makeup, and actually show up when I used to come in looking completely homeless to record because no one could see my face. This being said, for us to keep doing this, we live for your subscription. So please do not forget to subscribe to our channel and like and leave us comments and love. Live for the love and keep tuning in, and you'll always know when our new episode drops. Love you. Mean it.